Guys, your girl is in Bali and I'm coming to you live from the Bali villa. This is incredible. I don't know if you can see the amount of joy just radiating from my body is immense. Like, this feels like something out of my dreams. I am wearing the dress which I literally manifested wearing in Bali. Like, look at her. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's so Bali. There are actual flowers like this on the trees as well. There's 10 of us staying in a villa together, and my friend Sam and I are sleeping in this bed together. I'm feeling really happy and inspired right now, so I thought it would be the perfect time to just sit down and have a little chat about emotions. Something I am highly affected by. Who isn't? Who isn't affected by emotions? Um, but we got here and I was going through it. Our flight was at 6 a.m., so I got no sleep. And then at the end of the day, I was having a crash out. Imagine being in this beautiful place and still crashing out. So I had to do some damage. What is it called when you take care of damage? I had to do some damage control in the morning. I meditated on on our terrace in the Bali villa. I also did a session of yoga. I was gonna film them, but then I was like, it felt a little bit performative. But these practices have genuinely really helped me. Whenever there's a problem, I used to be very reactive to it in the past. I would fully let it like absorb me emotionally, and then I'd try and like take action immediately in some ways. Whereas I think sitting in silence and just allowing the emotion to flow through you can help you see it from a much different perspective. Because I saw there's this quote that's like, you cannot solve a problem from the same mind that created it. So if it's chaos that created your problem, you will not be able to solve it with chaos. Like fighting fire with fire, I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's way better to give yourself a moment to to process how you're feeling, because I was getting hit with wave after wave of emotion, and sitting in it I could come to like I could come back to who I really feel like I am internally, rather than taking any action out of fear or stress. And usually when we have things weighing us down, I think you'll be able to relate to this. Is there a task that you've been putting off for ages and then you finally do it and you're like, that took literal like minutes. Why was I putting it off for so long? But I think sometimes we let things build up in our head and they create demons that like they literally feel like monsters because they're like sinking their claws. Look, I have claws at the moment. Yeah. They like sink their claws into you, into your heart, and it feels like a block when you're doing them. I feel like sitting in silence has allowed me to work through those emotions, just let the fear and the anxiety pass through me, or even just exist within me and accept them as like emotions that will be there, and then they become so much less scary. And I find that after a session, when I'm calm, I can actually approach my tasks from a much more grounded space where I'm not doing it in a reactive way. I'm not doing it out of fear, out of stress. I'm doing it as an act of like self-love to like further myself. For example, for ages I've been putting off paying for accommodation in London because it's kind of like a scary thing. It's a hefty ass payment to pay. Like London prices are crazy. London prices are crazy. Mm-mm-mm. And if anything, it was impacting me really negatively because I could lose the offer. And yet, I like viewed it as this scary monster that's like existing. And through like calming down my nervous system, my brain no longer flagged it as a threat, and I could peacefully sit down, work through the documents, and pay it. So if there's a problem in your life, I'm telling you, like I promise you, if you have the time, sit and calm down your nervous system. Breathing techniques are a really good way. Any form of exercise is incredible. I really like slow, intuitive movements like yoga and Pilates, or even an intense exercise sometimes is what's necessary to like let you allow you to let go of blockages if you really need to sweat it out. I think it just depends on like how your mood is feeling, how you are experiencing the issue in your life. This theme of acting through self-love is something so important that I like to preach about for a second. May I preach, guys? May I preach to the choir? Doing things through self love rather than hate. For so long, I would like act through like anxiety and fear and stress. And it's very much to me a survival mode of thinking. And sometimes you will go through phases like that where that's necessary. And this is what got me to this point. Like getting into university for me was very much like a very stressful like period. But it's what's allowed me to now be to take a year on exchange in Australia and be in Bali and have all these experiences and grow as a person. There are periods in your life where you will need to grind in order to achieve your goal. But I think especially like within feminine energy that I've been like leaning into more is very much an allowing and a receiving, less so a trying to control and take grasp of situations, which is what I was fully in previously. But when you just allow things to flow, and it's so much easier said than done. I know you should have seen me. I was rolling around the bed earlier, like on the phone with my friend. I was like, "Go help me! I'm like in a bad state." And it's good to have that support system to rely on. But we were both talking. We were talking about she's trying to quit smoking at the moment, and that's what like gave me the idea to talk about this because I think this concept helped her, and I didn't even realize how much it helped her. Sometimes I don't think people realize the profound impact they have on each other. Like, even speaking to her and her presence alone and her encouragement with how I was feeling was enough to put me in a completely different state of mind where I was able to approach my problems from so much more peace and clarity. And so being able to in turn help her made me feel so happy. And I thought in a similar way I could just share what we spoke about because it might help someone. Yeah, she was just sharing how she's trying to quit smoking. That brings her back to a more negative time in her life when she would. And I mentioned the concept that I love that is like growing through love for yourself, doing things out of love. And I really think that is a solution to a lot of problems because so many of us are negatively programmed through our lives to like judge or hate on ourselves. Like, how many times have you condemned yourself for something you've done that's like outside of the social norm? I feel like it's especially prevalent for girls, like when it comes to eating. Like, I know I have that negative self-talk sometimes when I let myself overeat, or as a very high performing, I would call myself a very high performing and driven person. I feel like I'm over analytical of every single thing that I do. That's why it's been so important for me to just show up. Sometimes just showing up is enough. There are days when you cannot do your best, and this is where I think self-help gets quite toxic because in the productivity space, people I spoke about this in a previous video when I was in the Philippines. I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone to film in public. And at that time, that felt like the right thing to do. But then it's like you keep setting the bar higher and higher and higher for yourself. And there comes a point where the bar is really high. So you have to put a lot of your energy to meet that next step. The whole concept was that after a while of like being on self improvement, it's not enough to just show up because to take the next step or get to the next level, you have to be a lot more, you have to put a lot more intention into it. It works the same way as the gym. Like, someone who, I use the analogy of the gym where someone shows up, does their workout, but after a while, after a few months in, that is not enough anymore. You have to be going up those weights. But I'm here to tell you that like you do not need to go up in the weights every single time. Sometimes there will be periods that you stagnate. And yeah, the gym bros know this because like it will level off and there will be a period where you just even showing up, and even if you have to drop down a level, it's that saying that's like one step forward, two steps back. Nah. That would mean you're going backwards. I mean, two steps forward, one step back. That's very much how it is. And I've seen these diagrams of like self-improvement being like this spiral. You think it's like linear, you think it's linear, it's like dot to dot, but it's actually like this massive spiral going up, so you feel like you're winding around yourself. And I'm here to tell you you're on the right track. Just keep going. This is really a message I needed to hear, basically, like today and yesterday. And that's what compelled me to film the video. It's like, I know someone out there needs to hear this right now. Just keep showing up and staying true to your values. I think that's been a new learning that I've become conscious of. I'm 21. So I there's so much left for me out there to learn, which is simultaneously really exciting but also super intimidating. My frontal lobe is not yet developed. I need her to like do her thing and develop already. Um what was I saying? This is what I mean. Oh yes, staying true to your values. I I feel like we're sometimes so bombarded by what other people think and say and do and what society's pushing on you that it's so hard to just like hear your own inner voice and what you feel like intuitively you need to do, because it's not always what other people are telling you to do, especially when you're hearing something that you don't want to from your like close support system. It can be so hard. I feel for kids who are like pushed into university by their parents even though they intuitively know it's not something that is for them. I think it's definitely good to listen to other people and their advice and teachings, but take that more so as like general context around your problem rather than a solution. You're just collecting data that will help you come to the right conclusion for yourself, because what people need is so much more different from each other. And this is why I'm so happy right now, is because I acted true to my values. After the conversation me and my friend had, it gave me clarity on what's important to me, which is at this moment, it's like sticking up for my feelings, being more assertive about how I feel, standing up for myself, being true about my emotions and not being scared to express those in front of people. I think a big part of that was actually calling her when I knew I was in this bad state, because it's difficult to speak to people, but I'm telling you, like, sharing your problems with someone literally halves them, because when you verbalize it, or if you don't have someone, you can journal about it. When it's written down, I'm like, bro, this was nothing. And here, I've got my journal. I've got my journal here with me. I am so scared someone will find this one day and read and be like, what is this? This girl's crazy. Like, I just journal in a very extreme way to get out all of the emotion. Anyway, acting out of integrity, honesty, all these things, which I feel like can get pushed aside in the modern world because of what like feels right or wrong, if that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of times people feel like they need to suppress their own truth because it's not what's generally like accepted. I feel like you thrive more in a modern capitalist society by being more cutthroat, being more individualistic. I don't know if I'm just throwing out words, but you know, I do truly feel like there's been a loss of like community and seeing others as people. You know, sometimes we treat each other like trash, which makes me sad. Like in different industries, you can see that. I feel like the industry that I'm about to experience, which is finance, is very like has a very a big perception of being like cutthroat. You kind of have to like step over people to get to where you need. Sometimes it feels like everyone is out for each other, and I think if we were able to all collectively just care for each other a little bit more and be open and honest in our communication, the world would just be a better place.